My name's Tim Murphy. It's a pleasure to welcome you here again to what we hope will be an action-packed, great agenda today for which you can hopefully take some great insights out back to your practices and certainly help with your learnings and share ideas with your clients. Our theme for this year is finding order in the new disorder. Now certainly there's been plenty going on in markets over the last year or so. There's certainly been plenty going on at a political level, which we'll get into through many of the sessions today. But certainly you'll see this theme reverberate throughout many of the sessions today. And I think one of the key things for all of us is to try and make sense of a lot of the noise out there and be able to try and look through that and really understand what are the fundamentals we need to be focusing on to help our clients meet their long-term goals. Now, we're online again this year at the conference, so hopefully you would have received an email in the last day or so about details of how to download the conference app. If you have not had a chance to download that to your mobile device thus far, I would encourage you to do so during those early comments. There's instructions on the table, but equally too, you can go to the App Store if you're using an Apple, or the Android. If you've got an Android device, the Google Play. So please, if you haven't had a chance yet, take it some time now to download the app, because it's going to be important to participate throughout the day, because yet again we're going to be asking you to participate and engage with us throughout. We're going to be taking questions through the app this year. We're going to be enabling you to provide your feedback throughout as each session goes out. We will have the manual feedback forms on the tables, which we certainly value your feedback, but if you can do that through the app as you go throughout the day, it certainly makes your lives a bit easier and helps it easy to facilitate CPD points coming back to you. We're going to be doing the live polling again. We really want to sort of gauge your views on what's topical with some of the key issues throughout each session, each asset class as we go through today. So it's really important you have the app to be able to share your thoughts and views on each of the issues as they're presented throughout each session. And as I mentioned, we will have microphones roving the floor at the end of each session to facilitate Q&A, but equally too, we'll be able to take questions through the app this year. So if you've got questions for the speakers throughout the session, you can please submit those through the app and we can help address those at the end of each session. And lastly, of course, as I mentioned, the feedback. We certainly value the feedback that you provide us. It certainly helps us improve this event year on year, make it bigger and bigger. Certainly great to see another full house, over 500 of you signed up this year. We think it's going to be a great day, and hopefully you'll find it similarly challenging and entertaining and also valuable in taking some of those key insights back to your clients. Now, there's been plenty going on in markets which we're going to get into. There's also been plenty going on at Morningstar. So to give us a brief update on some of the things happening within our business, I'm going to turn it over to our CEO, Heather Brilliant.
Hi everyone, thanks for being with us today. We're really thrilled with the agenda that we've put together for you today. We have a lot of great sessions that I hope you'll really enjoy. This conference would not be possible without all of our wonderful sponsors. And so I just want to encourage you to enter and exit through this doorway over here, where you will find food during the breaks, and you will also find all of the sponsor booths. So hopefully you can have plenty of time to interact with them as well. I just wanted to share a brief update with you on what Morningstar has been up to over the last year since we last all gathered here together. One of the big things that we have done globally is to launch ratings on ESG. And many of you are familiar with this. We've had lots of conversations with different participants in the marketplace, but we're really excited to be able to bring this focus to the ESG and sustainability space as we look across our coverage of managers. Another thing that I wanted to mention that has been a really big impact, I would say, on Morningstar over the last year is that we made a pretty large acquisition called PitchBook. Now, normally I wouldn't necessarily mention a US acquisition all the way over here in Australia, except for the fact that based on looking at PitchBook's data, I know that there's actually quite a lot of Australian data in there already, and even some Australian users already. And that's because PitchBook is basically the most comprehensive venture capital and private equity database out there. And so if we haven't already talked to you about it and you're interested, certainly let us know. But it really expands our ability to have some conversations around everything from what's going on in the VC space to potential new clients and prospects for you, as we can look through there to find which companies might be coming up for sale or may have just recently sold. Another thing I'd mention briefly is that we put a lot of emphasis around helping all of our clients with regulatory change. And this is something that has been a big theme in the US over the last year with the Department of Labor rules that seem to be go, no go, go, constantly changing. But essentially those rules are really just trying to bring the US to where Australia has been for a number of years, which is to set a fiduciary standard around how we look after and treat our clients. So we're really thrilled to be able to provide some technology and research to enable that to be easier for you. And some of those solutions that we've developed with the US market in mind will have great implications for Australia as well. So we'll certainly be talking more about that in the coming months. Finally, a big area of focus for us, and this is one we talked quite explicitly about at our conference last year, is goals-based investing. As many of you are working with your clients, the number one goal usually is retirement, making sure you've saved enough for retirement, but that's not the only goal that our clients have. And so we've done a lot of work around how to use all of our solutions to enable you to figure out the best asset allocation, the best portfolio construction to be able to meet multiple goals that your clients have. So we're really pleased to have some of that technology as well. Now, locally, you may have noticed that Morningstar indexes are powering more ETFs in the local market. We have also brought some specific solutions around our research coverage of ETFs. Our research coverage of ETFs has actually more than doubled over the last 5 years. So we're really excited to be able to bring important market coverage to that area. And a couple of things that I wanted to mention that are coming soon. So many of you know we have a large and meaningful equity research team here in the marketplace that generally covers the ASX 200. And today, when we put out a research report, we give you a recommendation that looks like buy, accumulate, hold, reduce, sell. But everywhere else in the world, we have teams of equity research analysts that put out recommendations that are star ratings. And the reason for that is because it allows us to really have a deeper conversation about what those ratings mean and to use the stars to talk about a 5-star being a very undervalued company, a 1-star being a very overvalued company. Well, this rubric has worked extremely well for us in a number of other markets. And so I'm excited to say that we are looking into the implications of bringing it to the Australian market, which I think will really help enable better conversations around equities. So we'll have more information on that in the breakout session on equities if you're interested. The other thing I wanted to mention that we've been doing a lot of work around, mainly thanks to feedback from all of you, is on separately managed accounts. So we're putting some investment into our local separately managed accounts data and expect to have a lot more throughout our tools that can really enable you to be able to better research and understand the separately managed accounts that you may be using today or interested in using or looking at as comparable vehicles across the marketplace. So the final thing I'll mention, I guess, that I think many of you are aware of is that we have been putting a lot of effort working with the industry very closely around something that we affectionately call PHD, Portfolio Holdings Disclosure. Now, I have said up here before, and many of you are aware, that Australia is really the only developed market in the world that doesn't require funds to disclose what they're holding in their portfolios. And so what we're trying to do is to partner with the industry to actually get in front of the regulation to provide you with the transparency on the portfolios that you need to be able to make better investment decisions. And I'm very, very proud to say that we've made a ton of progress, and in collaboration with the industry, we'll have more explicit portfolio holdings disclosure coming later this year. So my final comment is that today actually marks Morningstar's 33rd birthday, 33rd anniversary of existing. And in recognition of that, and I guess in celebration of that, we'd like to show you a short video about the Morningstar logo, and we'll also be having cupcakes later today to celebrate.
I'm sure you, especially the people sitting in this room, are familiar with the work of Paul Rand. It was this next logo that Joe Mansueto found in this book that he found especially interesting. So Joe, in 1991, asked Paul Rand to design a logo for this company. And Paul said, well, it's 11 letters, it's a little difficult to work with like that, but I'll do the best I can. So he designed these letters, these sans serif condensed letters. But he wanted to do something to make it a little bit more memorable, so he fooled around with putting different stars in place of the O. There was a time when he said, well, I'll just use a big fat O as a formal confrontation to the other letters. And then he remembered where the name came from. The sun is but a morning star, from the last sentence of Walden by Henry David Thoreau. And so he did this.
All right. Now, there's certainly, throughout today, there's plenty of Morningstar staff around. Many of us identified by the Morningstar O on these little badges that we're wearing today. So please look out for us, come and have a conversation. Let us know what's on your mind, what's going on in your businesses, how we might be able to help you solve some of the issues or problems you're facing day to day. So please sort of reach out and engage with us throughout the day. Now, there's a number of new features for the conference this year to sort of help improve different engagements. We might have seen outside the Tech Hub for the first time. So during each of the breaks today, there's going to be some live demonstrations going on of a couple of our software platforms, Advisor Research Centre that many of you are familiar with and often use within your practices, and also Morningstar Direct, our institutional software platform. So encourage any of you that are interested in checking out some greater details about some of the functionality that can help you in your practices to visit some of the different sessions out there today. We've also got another new initiative this year, having Ask the Analyst Corner. So during each break, there's a couple of analysts from both the manager research team as well as our equity research team who'll be out there taking direct questions that any of you have on the different sectors or asset classes that we've got under coverage. So the schedule is mapped out again on the tables there, so you can see during which break, from the fund research guys, which asset class specialists are going to be there. You can go up and ask anything that any questions you've got about that sector, those managers, or if you're interested in the equity views, again, you can see which sectors the analysts will be there during which time. So please, if you've got questions and want to hear direct from any of our analysts, please go up and ask them a question and address that. Now, we want to get stuck into the agenda today. We value your feedback, as I mentioned, and certainly some of the common feedback from last year, well, overall it was great. What do you want to hear more of? We heard that you wanted to hear more about trends in technology. We've got a great session coming up after lunch talking about some of the digital evolution going on in the advice industry globally. Some of us, many of you asked, you want to hear more about behavioural finance. We've got a little session later this afternoon that addresses some of the work that we're doing on that front. So we certainly value your feedback, encourage you to provide that throughout the day to help us make this bigger and better each year. In terms of the structure of the day, it's going to be similar to what we've had in many years. We're in here in the morning focusing on some of the bigger picture issues out there in markets. After morning tea, there'll be two streams running, so the fund investing stream will be still here in this room, while those of you interested in the direct investing stream, some of our direct equity team, and then a session on ETFs will be upstairs on level 6 in the Heritage Room, so we'll talk through some of the logistics of that as we come to morning tea. But then we really want to get stuck into today. If we think about what's been most topical for us in the last 12 months, it's definitely been what's been going on at political levels in the major countries around the world. I think this really first kicked off the rise of populism with the Brexit vote around this time of last year, and we've seen that evolve right around the world. And so we really come to a fore with the election, of course, of President Trump late last year in the US. And so when thinking about who we would like to come today to try and address what's going on in the US, what does all this mean for all of us? Is it just noise? Are there fundamental things we need to be thinking about in our discussions with clients? There was certainly one person that stood out to us as a sort of foremost expert in this area. Libby Cantrell is PIMCO's US Head of Public Policy. She's a very senior member of the firm and serves in the PIMCO's investment committee in terms of any views on public policy settings and what that potentially means for markets. So it's our great pleasure this year to welcome our keynote speaker, Libby Cantrell, to discuss the greater possibility for right tail policies and left tail mishaps. Please welcome Libby Cantrell to the stage.